We are live. Mute. All right. It's been forever since I've done a Hangouts. Okay. Let's see if we are live. Come on. Channel. Hey, Malta. How's it going? Hey, Mercy Tyson Vlogs. Awesome. I'll just wait for a few more people to come in. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. I'm going to try to see if it'll let me upload the... oh, hello from the Philippines, Mercy. That's awesome. I don't know if it's going to let me do the thumbnail or not. Don't think so. Awesome. Well, welcome, guys. Today is a first for me. I'm going to do an interview today, and we are going to be talking about ankylosing spondylitis and what better way to get back to basics for the reason why I started this channel other than having an interview. So please make sure you guys share this stream on Twitter and Facebook. I'm going to do that right now as well so we can get some more people in here. Hey, SDK, how's it going? So share this stream on Twitter. We're going to be welcoming Shawn into the room in just a second. So make sure you guys share. I just wanted to let you guys know I appreciate you guys being here. And just bear with me while I share the streams right now. So go over and share this on Twitter. Spread it around so we can get more people over here. And yeah, let's hope we can get a group of people in here today. And I'm going to send it to some people. Hey, Juxtapose, how's it going? Welcome. We are about to welcome Shawn on in just a second. I'm going to be interviewing Shawn, and then we will open it up to questions in the chat if you want to. And then if we have some people that decide they want to join us on the live panel afterwards, then we might do that as well. So we'll see what happens. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Please share this stream on Facebook and Twitter. And without further ado, this is Shawn's first time doing an interview, as well as first time being live on YouTube. So be kind. Hey, Matthew, how's it going? I'm going to go ahead and bring him on. So go ahead, Shawn, and bring yourself over here. Are you there?
I think so.
Awesome. I can hear you. I'm just going to look at our event here. Give me 1 second. You guys should be able to see him as well. I'll probably go back and forth from this screen to the other screen. There we go. Awesome. Well, welcome, Shawn. Thank you for being a part of my interview today. Welcome. I hope you had a great day so far. Thank you for being a part of this today. Are you nervous?
A little bit.
All right, let me make sure it's bringing you over here. A great day so far. Just making sure it's got you popping up on the screen. Ontario, Canada. That's right. I don't see you coming up on here yet, so give me 1 second.
Is it because I'm not saying?
I don't know. Talk a bit more for me, and I'll see if I can make sure you're featured on here.
All right.
Do you guys hear Shawn? Can you hear him?
I'm not sure if I'm coming through at all. I can see my video up on my end, but
You can see, yeah, just this part. Can you guys hear Shawn at all? Matthew or Thomas? Oh, awesome, Matthew. Thank you. I just want to make sure we can see him on here.
all right. So
it says
Malta's saying that he can hear me.
he can hear you. Okay. Let me see if I can find out why I can't see you. Okay, let me fix this on here. Okay, there we go. There you are. Now I've got you featured. Let's see if it pops up better.
All right.
I'm hoping they can see you. This is the joys of the technical part. Just hoping it works right. I haven't done a live Hangouts in, forever. Not since before I got my strike. So, okay, let me just go back to our actual chat. Okay, is he coming up? Okay, you just keep talking and say a whole bunch of stuff, and I'll see if it pops up.
Yeah, I
don't see you.
No, I'm watching on my.
Grayson. Okay, why aren't you coming up? Why is this here? Talking with Shawn. What's happening? You're not coming up on this one. Okay, hold on. You know what I'm gonna do? Probably because I called you first. So hold on. I'm gonna hang up with you on that one, and I didn't bring you on the right one. So let me call you on here, okay? I figured it out. I'm just having a moment. All right. I figured it out. Thank goodness. It's been a while. There we go. Invite. Okay, we got it going. Give me a minute. Okay, let's hope it worked. So Shawn, if you're watching, just click the invitation that I sent you. And if not, I will send it to you in Hangouts with this link. So give me 1 second to try it again. Thank you guys for being so patient. Hey, Mrs. LP. Hey, Story of Dory. Hey, Herman the Great and Eric Boyce. How's it going? Oh, thank you, Herman the Great. You didn't have to do that, buddy. Thank you for the super chat. All right, I am going to send this to you on Hangouts as well, Shawn. So make sure that you get this link. I am so happy that I remembered how to fix this. It's been so long. Ray. Oh, thank you. All right, so he needs to click on this. There we go. All right. And join. Okay, so while we're getting that done, this is going to be my first interview with Shawn. There you go, Shawn. Just click the link that I sent you in Hangouts, and it should bring you right into our chat. Hey, Douglas Fairchild. Welcome, everybody. I put my backdrop back together, as you can see, for this special occasion. Sexy Ash. Got to get Hangouts up again. Yes.
Am I in there now?
Yes, I hear you. Okay, so there you are. Let me just make sure you are here. Welcome. Sorry about that, and sorry about that. A boot for Herman. So there we go. Okay, so now we should have it perfectly working. I am so terribly sorry. I had a brain fart, and now I think it's working. Can you guys see Shawn? There we go. So welcome to your first live interview and your first live stream. Thank you again for agreeing to do this with me. I really, really appreciate it. I know if you guys didn't already know, myself and Shawn both suffer from ankylosing spondylitis, which is the name to my channel. And we've been getting to know each other, and we actually talked on the phone or the video chat for the first time last night ourselves, and got to know each other even more so that this interview would be easier for me to understand to you on a personal level and get to know you a little bit better. So thank you for that. Welcome, Shawn, everybody. Please make sure you guys go and give him some love on his channel. He might not have a full channel just yet, but that doesn't mean he won't. Maybe after doing something like this, maybe he'll start adding some stuff to his channel. You never know.
We'll see.
Hey, Nishi, welcome. Rude Boy McCoy, welcome. Anybody I missed in the chat, I'm going to be doing an interview, so I will keep trying to stay in touch in the chat. And Shawn, feel free to also help comment with the chat or whatever if you'd like. You guys can say hi to whoever, and yeah, no rules here. Just do whatever. I'm just gonna grab a tissue. Okay. I am battling something. We almost didn't go live tonight. We almost didn't do this live chat. I started coming down with the flu. So I don't know if I've got a plague or what's going on, but I can tell you I feel like I'm complete butt crap right now. But we are persevering through this, and the dizzy spells are gone, so that's awesome. So we're gonna rock this out, and I'm really excited. So basically, Shawn, all I really wanted to do is have everybody else get to know you better as well, especially because a lot of people don't understand what we go through every day, our day-to-day, and a lot of people have not even heard of this disease, ankylosing spondylitis. So basically, my purpose for doing this interview is so that people can get to know you, because we've become friends through Facebook groups, and you follow my channel, and now you've kind of intertwined with other channels now. So I'm really glad that people that are seeing you in their chats are getting a chance to see you now live. So this is really cool. So guys, please make sure you share this stream on Twitter. Make sure you share it on Facebook, and make sure you get people over here. Hey, Michael, how's it going? And the Leafs suck, according to Herman. So that was for you, Shawn. Can you see the chat from another device? Are you okay with that?
Me, I'm just bringing it up again.
Okay. Perfect. And I keep getting notifications on my stupid computer, so I apologize for that. All right, so without further ado, we'll get this interview going. So after this interview, if you guys have some questions, or throughout this interview, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and you can address it to myself or Shawn, and we'll try to answer you the best we can. The camera isn't switching back and forth. Okay. Give me
I haven't said anything, so I don't know
how
at
do
this
I
point.
make it go back and forth? Hold on. Present to everyone. You're presenting everyone. Present to everyone. I don't know why it's doing that.
Do I have to set it up to present?
Nope. I just don't know why it's being difficult. I don't know if I have to go back and forth or why it's doing that. So just give me one sec. Got your camera. I turned my camera off. And your camera back on. Okay. Weird. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe I'll have to play with it. I don't know. We'll see. All right. So I'm not going to look at the chat from here. I'm going to look at the chat from my phone, just because I have a funny feeling it's not going to present back and forth. So I'm going to check from my phone and just keep an eye on it. And then that way, if it doesn't do what I want, there we go. Hey, Egyptian Gamer, how's it going? Shawn is a regular at my streams. He is, and he's followed a lot of you guys from coming into my streams. So it's super, super awesome that he has become another fellow YouTube family member. So it's really, really awesome. So let's see if this is going to work. Oh, perfect. So I'm just going to talk and then switch it over to you. It's supposed to do it manually, but for some reason it's being difficult. So, okay. So how long have you had ankylosing spondylitis, Shawn?
I was diagnosed in May of this year.
Oh, just May of this year.
Yeah, yeah. I've been struggling with it for years, but just not knowing what it was.
And when or how in May were you diagnosed? Were you diagnosed by a family doctor? Were you diagnosed at the hospital?
Well, it happened. It just so happened that I was actually working at the hospital at the time, and I ended up having to go off work because there was a lot of jobs I couldn't do, or I found myself having really difficulties with them. And it just so happened that through the Ock Health Department at the hospital, the doctor I saw, her husband actually was a spine specialist, So she set me up with him, and I had a ton of X-rays, the MRIs, all the assessments, that type of thing, and it just came about in May.
Wow, that's crazy that it came about just recently. When, you know, myself, I'm going on, it'll be 9 years coming up in May of, I think, May of 2019. So that's crazy. It feels like, and you felt it over the years as well. Like you felt like you've had this disease for many years. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Well, I medicated it on my own. I wasn't one to run to doctors all the time, and it just so happened that after medicating it for so long, I ended up with an ulcer that almost took my life at that point. So once I went through that, it was time to get answers and find out what was actually causing all the pain I was in.
Wow, and an ulcer definitely is not something fun to deal with as well. So, and that was, you and I discussed that that was for medications given to you for ankylosing.
No, actually, I wasn't diagnosed at that time. I was taking naproxen. I was taking 2 tablets roughly about every 3 days for probably about 4 to 5 years, long term, and just over time, it deteriorated my stomach to the point where it blew an ulcer through, and then put me in the hospital for a week.
Sorry about that. I had to blow my nose.
That's okay.
That was for Herman, the about that. Yes, and he is a regular in your streams too, Herman. Hey, Brad, how's it going? Hey, Mrs. LP. So what was your first symptoms that you would say that you had that was making you think that something was up and that something was going on?
I was lower back pain for sure. It was to the point where I couldn't. I was having a hard time walking, getting out of bed. That type of.
Something specifically that happened that made you know right off the bat that it was just something terrible, or were you still just thinking you just had typical back pain?
I just had. I really thought I only had typical back pain at the time, and that's why I was medicating it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And just over time, once I had the ulcer and all the problems at work that I was having, my kids suffered, and they watched me suffer through it for so long, and my wife as well. And when I started to have problems at work, that's when I knew that I needed work in order to support my family. And if I wasn't able to work, then I needed to find out why, what was causing the pain to put me off work.
So you're just missing work and things like that because you're having such bad back pain and didn't know what it was. So are you working right now?
Before. Not currently, no. I've been off since January.
So it's affected you hardcore. Like it's affected you so bad that you're not able to physically work and it's not something that you can do.
Oh, for sure.
When with this disease, do you feel that there's a lot of depression and anxiety that you gain from having this, as well as are there ways that you cope if you do?
In regards to depression, I kind of struggle with it alone a lot. I don't. I'm not really per se like in my group of friends that I have here in Canada that are close to me. I don't. It's not something that I bring up quite a lot. Just in conversations, it's something that I deal with pretty much on my own. Mm-hmm. Because for me, I mean, I was never one to take medication. If I had a headache, I struggled through it and just struggled through it. Eventually, it would go away. Sorry about that. So I was never one to really take meds. And then it just got to the point where I had to medicate in order to function every day.
Now, when you first found out that you had this disease, what went through your mind? Like, what was going through your mind at the time of the diagnosis? Did you go into a state of shock? Did you not really know what it was? Like, did you have to educate yourself about it to figure out what you really had? Or like, what were you feeling at the time of diagnosis?
When they diagnosed me, it was mixed. It was for me anyway. It was really, really mixed because after struggling for so many years, I finally had an answer about what was causing my pain. At the same time, like a lot of people probably in the chat, they have a hard time pronouncing the name of the disease.
That's my daily life, right? With my title as the name, I can honestly tell you the number of times people can't pronounce it. So I can only imagine.
You know what? It wasn't until I knew the spelling and when I looked it up online, and I actually, you're the first person actually that I saw online with the disease, and knowing that I was going to have to start the injections and being super nervous about that.
Yeah, about that. Sorry.
There you go.
We're Canadians, by the way. If you guys didn't know, we're both from Canada, so we're actually only a couple of hours apart from each other. So.
Yeah. But no, it was mixed because I mean, I knew at that point it was going to be life changing.
Yeah.
So I mean, the injections made me nervous. Just having the diagnosis and knowing what was happening was relieving. But then that unknown of what does the future hold for me?
Right.
You know, you're scared, you're relieved, you're going through a bunch of different emotions at a time.
Yeah. And see, you actually had situations where something was happening to you and you had something, affecting you already and you just didn't have a diagnosis. Where myself, I had this come out of nowhere and I didn't have pre-symptoms. I didn't have anything happen to make me think that this was something serious. So if it wasn't for me having my son giving birth, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. So it's funny and it's neat learning about the different, situations and even chatting with other people that have this disease. It's really interesting learning everyone's story about how this came out of the woodwork and how, they were diagnosed, because it is so, it's not a common disease, but it is becoming common, I'm finding. And what did we discuss yesterday? It's males that it's more common in than female.
What I researched is that they usually diagnose males at 15 years of age. They start to notice different things. You're doing sports at schools, you're doing that type of thing where they're noticing the just that odd pain. It's not like it's like a muscle cramp where it goes away. It's just constant and it stays with you. So they diagnose males. I don't know why there's a stigma when females have the disease. From what I've read, they basically, you guys must wear capes or something because, but they always make an excuse as of, oh, you're having, cramps, or if you're pregnant. They always try to direct it towards that issue or that time in your life, and they overlook it. The symptoms, they just kind of write off as, oh, you have back pain because you're carrying a child, or
because they took mine as sciatic. So sciatic nerve is a very common thing in women after giving birth to a child. So that's what mine was misdiagnosed as. So I guess it's a little bit different for you because it's not like, you gave birth to a child, so they're looking at, sciatic nerve or anything, or something that would bring it out. So it's just random how. And the gene, the HBLA gene, it's the HBLA 27 gene is another way that they are testing for this disease. But however, they are finding there's a lot of people that are negative over positive. So is there anyone in your family that has this disease, and were you HBLA 27 positive or negative?
No, I never had the gene. I don't have a family history of it. I think, in all honesty, I think it was more situational for me. Before I was working at the hospital, I was actually working and supervising with a security company, and I was putting in ridiculous hours. I was working like 16, 18-hour nights, driving all night, sitting in a vehicle. So that just that posture, I would get out of a vehicle and it was you'd stretch, and then you'd have to handle whatever situation it was, and you just kind of did it. It wasn't something that I noticed at that time. It wasn't until I left that job and actually did a physical job at the hospital. I was cleaning actually an emergency at the time, and lifting heavy bags, it was just excruciating.
You started harder, and you were noticing the pain a lot more significantly.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I had to use one of the cleaning carts in order to walk down a hallway instead of actually being able to walk myself.
Yeah.
I used to walk through the hospital if I didn't have the cart, and my right leg would go, my right hip would go stiff on me, and I'd have to actually take a break from walking.
Oh wow.
And I just, at that time, again, I didn't know what it was, so I would stop. I would wait a couple minutes, take a breather, and then just continue on what I was doing. And just kept kind of soldiering on, not knowing, I wasn't at that point one to run to a doctor.
Yeah, you didn't have it necessarily.
When I went to the first doctor and I told them, I said that I was having back issues, his response was, people my age, I just turned 40 in August, everybody at that age has back pain.
Right.
So I switched doctors, and that's when they started doing the MRIs and that type of thing. And then when I went off work, that's when they really kind of started to push and try to get answers for me.
Yeah, and that's crazy that you were still trying to work and you were still pushing through. I just wanted to take a second to acknowledge some people in the chat. Wanted to say hello to Johnny Cook, and thank you, Malta, for still being here. Steve Bauman, no, I did not get the poop lights. Thank you guys. Shepherd's Treehouse, thank you for being here. Thank you guys for listening. I will stop to interact with you guys in the chat. I don't want it to just be like a solid interview where we're ignoring you or anything like that. One sip at a time. Hello, how's it going? And Shawn, thank you again for being here. If you see anyone in the chat and you want to stop and chat with as well, feel free. Don't feel like we have to make it so serious or anything like that.
No. You know what? I think it's more nerves. I'm kind of talking directly to you, and I'm not. The chat's there, but I'm not really.
Well, and it feels so natural. Like when we first had our phone, like our first conversation, like on video chat last night, that was the first time we physically video chatted or talked like that. And other than that, like since we've been talking, it's mostly through Hangouts or Facebook Messenger or Instagram. So
all the social media things.
Yeah, and like it was, and I'm a skeptical person. So for me, it was like, okay, well, I still don't feel to myself that I'm helping others. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't feel I'm doing so much for others. I feel like I'm helping them talk about things, but I don't necessarily feel like I'm doing something huge. But there are people who are like saying, this has been really a good outlet for me, just like you did. And it opens my eyes to see that there are so many people that are going through this that still aren't accepting the fact that they have it. It took me years. I'm still in shock sometimes, and it's almost been 10 years. So, hey, Rudy's Paranormal, it's hard to even fathom how these things happen to us. Do you know what I mean? So I just still have a hard time understanding that I'm actually helping people. So that wasn't necessarily what I wanted to do. I kind of wanted to bring awareness to the disease, but it's nice to have someone to talk with, such as yourself, so that we can compare, as well as if there's something going on with us, if we're confused about something or unsure of something, even being on the same medication, it's nice to interact and, help each other through, because you're still at the beginning stages of taking Cosentex. And Cosentex, guys, is the injection that I'm doing my injection videos on my channel for. And Shawn is also taking those as well. He's still in the earlier stages. I've been on it a little bit longer, but I feel helpful with that, at least, because it's nice that you could see how I'm doing it, and we kind of compared about how we're doing it, and trying to make each other feel a little bit better, because we're both kind of squeamish about needles. So it's really, really nice that we can kind of chat about those type of things and get through some of our own struggles. Do you know what I mean? So I'm really thankful that we've come together, and we're also meeting other people. So is there anyone else besides myself that has ankylosing spondylitis that you know personally, or you've met or had interactions with?
Not personally. No. In the chats, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you had told me that there was Kendi that I believe.
Yeah, from Pamela's streams, and she just came out of the woodwork.
but that's really the only person that I really haven't really made a connection with Kendi as of yet. When I first got diagnosed, like I said, you were the first person that came up in and the with the Cosentyx,
Right.
and it. I mean, I'm borderline diabetic with injections as well, and
Okay, we're talking about that. So, being diabetic, what type are you?
I want to say it's type 2.
Yeah,
I
the
wasn't.
men, right? So that's type
Yeah,
2. Hey, James.
yeah. So I mean, it's a struggle because I'm trying to control that and deal with ankylosing spondylitis as well.
And that's definitely a lot because being diabetic is a lot all on its own, let alone worrying about an autoimmune disease as well that is affecting your spine and your joints and everything like that, your mobility. So
For
it's
sure.
quite a lot for you on your plate that maybe somebody wouldn't even know. Like somebody wouldn't know that you're battling all these things. Hello,
Yeah.
James. Thank you for being here. Hello, Weekend Warrior Outdoors. Welcome. And Rudy's Paranormal. So now you had said they now know you're on Cosentyx. What are some other medications that you have taken? Is there some other injections? Were you on any pill medications
I
or
haven't
anything
been.
you remember?
I haven't been on any other injections at this point because I was just diagnosed in May.
Okay.
I know in January, if my back doesn't start to loosen up a little bit, they are going to, or my doctor was saying that he is going to double my injections. But I have been on since my ulcer. Well, since I had the ulcer that really kind of scared me. I've been on stomach pills to protect my stomach from other meds that I'm taking.
Right.
I am taking metformin for diabetes. I'm taking 2 Celebrex a day. I'm on a cholesterol pill, vitamin D.
Wow.
Yeah, I always joke with my wife because I mean I told her, I said I wasn't one to take pills before, and at 40 years old I think I'm going to start needing a bubble pack soon. Track
Oh,
of it.
hi, Stephanie. Welcome. Nice to see you. I am well, thank you. I am getting over some sort of flu of some kind, but we are still doing this interview today. This meant a lot to do it, and I was not going to let everybody down, and I did not want to let Shawn down. I know health comes first, but it's actually not disease related. So I'm actually starting to feel a little bit better. I had some peanut butter toast a while ago, and I think that kind of helped whatever was going on. So maybe it's just like a stomach bug or something. I don't know, but thank you, Michael, for prayers and everything like that. Shawn and I definitely appreciate that. I'm really glad that you guys are able to be here today to listen to Shawn and I kind of talk about what we've been going through. I'm more so focusing on him because my channel, obviously, I talk about myself with this all the time. I might compare a little bit of things about mine to him, but I'm not really going to focus so much on myself. I want it mostly to be about Shawn today. So I'm really excited that you were telling me that your doctors have been really helpful to give you Cosentyx because, as an example, when I was first diagnosed, I had to go through hoops with the government to try to get help for payment and things like that with this drug, with these drugs. And there was different levels that you had to start with, for example. So they wanted you to start with anti-inflammatories and
Mhm.
some narcotics, and then start with the lower base injections.
See,
So Cosentyx wasn't even out yet, but that's how we started.
yeah. See, when I was diagnosed, I was sort of he started me on the Celebrex by itself, basically, with my stomach pill because of my ulcer,
Right.
and basically I skipped all of the NSAIDs and that type of thing that they were going to put me on,
Right.
because I was taking an naproxen, which is an NSAID at that already.
Right. I guess I didn't think of that either. So you did
So
kind of take one, but you just didn't
yeah,
know it was
yeah.
ankylosing.
Basically what it was the pills that I was taking was doing more damage to my insides than it was helping me. I
And
mean,
if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have known that.
I felt fine. Working in the emergency, knowing that the nurses that were taking care of me at the time, when I first went in with the ulcer, they were poking at me and waking me up every like half hour, and I couldn't understand why. And I found out afterwards that they were concerned because when I walked in, I was lightheaded. I was bleeding through my stomach, so they
Wow.
actually asked me. They said, how are you standing up right now? And my wife was with me, and I said, well, if I was to drop right now, you'd have 2 problems because, well, you'd have to pick me up, and I'm not a small guy, um, and two, I said my wife would probably be losing it.
Right.
So it was just soldier onto a bed and get it taken care of.
That's brutal. And naproxen is something that they prescribe to everyone so
Yep.
easily, and they even wanted me to take it 2 times a day. Once you told me your story, I immediately stopped taking it. I haven't taken it since. And now I wasn't taking it religiously like they wanted me to, but they take it from time to time. And I would only actually take it for menstrual cramps, to be honest, because it doesn't really help me with pain all over. But I can't believe that you went through that experience, and what a deadly one.
Yeah, they basically told me at that point to stop taking naproxen because, of course, it was doing the damage it was doing.
Right.
They told me to take Tylenol, and frankly, the amount of pain I was in, Tylenol probably wouldn't have touched the pain whatsoever, and it would have just destroyed some other organ that I didn't. I had to pick which one I didn't need, type thing, in order to feel okay.
And speaking of wife and kids, so how old are you, Shawn? What is your age?
Me, I just turned 40 in August.
And you have a wife and how many children?
I've got three young boys.
Wow. So how does your family cope with you having ankylosing spondylitis? Like your children and your wife separately. You can talk about each of them individually, but
Yeah, see, well, my 3-year-old, he basically knows that I've had issues ever since he was born, really. And now it's the point where everyday things, if I have to pick up something off the ground, he's usually the little guy that runs over and grabs it for me.
that's
My
kind
older two,
of fun.
my older two boys, they know that I've had back issues, but I don't think they really understand what it is. They're not exposed to it every day, in all honesty, because they live with their mother, and I
Right.
see them every other weekend, so they know I have back pain. I don't think they understand it 100%. And even if I was to explain it to them,
It's something they might see as they get older,
well,
right?
they're 11 and 13, or 11 and my oldest will be 14 in December. And they're teenage years. They're doing their own thing. They don't really, when it comes to stuff like that, they're not really paying attention to it. And if they are, they're listening, but they're not really hearing what you're voicing to them.
Right. And what about your wife? How does your wife cope with it? Like, how does she feel about it, or how is she?
My wife, it's been rough. It has been rough. I mean, it's a lot for her to deal with. Knowing that we were married in 2014, and just shortly after that was when I basically started to really see a lot of the symptoms.
Right.
There's a lot of things around the house that I cannot do. And I have to give her credit. I mean, she works full time. She takes care of me, my 3-year-old, as well.
Wow.
I don't know how she does it, but I just hope that it doesn't wear her out to the point where she ends up having a condition just because she's trying to kind of soldier on to take care of all of us.
Right. And speaking of that, I just wanted to say hello to Bergie Love and the Art That Heals Stephanie. Welcome, guys. How's it going? I'm good. Thank you. Shawn, how are you doing? From Stephanie and Bergie Love.
Yeah, so far, so good.
Okay, bye, Bergie. Enjoy your dinner. Now, speaking sort of about your wife, how we were talking a little bit yesterday ourselves, what are some of the things that you can't do? Like some of the things that you were able to do before and things that your wife might now have to do to help you do with everyday getting ready or any everyday life?
There's a lot of things, actually. Because my lower back is pretty much, it's not fused, but I want to say it's finished because I've got bulged and herniated discs in my lower back. I can't stand for very long without assistance or without. I've had to resort to using a cane in order to basically walk any type of distance. So I mean, like when it comes to laundry, it comes to dishes, that type of thing. I can't stand for that long to do that. If she's doing dishes and I clear the rack for her when I do, that's really the extent of it. I mean,
And then you bend at all?
I can't. In order to put my shoes and socks on, if my wife wasn't here, I would basically be barefoot all the time because I can't reach my feet whatsoever.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible. I started using one of those, what the heck are those? The horseshoe type thing you put in your shoe. They're old school.
The shoehorn?
Yeah, the shoehorn. My grandfather had one, and when he passed away, I really, really, and I went and got a couple, and it actually is a lifesaver when it comes to not having to bend down to put your shoes on. That's one of the things that I use every single day, all the time, and honestly, it's a lifesaver.
Lately, I've just been. I mean, I know it's been getting cold here, but I'm still actually. If I go out, I'm usually in flip flops because.
Are you really?
If my wife's at work, I can't tie my shoes and I can't put my socks on. So
Yeah.
usually a pair of flip flops and I just go.
I think us Canadians are still in denial that winter's coming too. So I'm a flip flops girl. I hate socks. So I think I'm just hoping summer will still come back. How's it going, Bad Company? Welcome. Oh my goodness. So it's been really, like, to say the least, it's been a lot going through in such a short amount of time because it's only been since May. And we're now just coming to the end of October. So it's been quite an experience for you. And just, do you feel that your doctor is on board to being there for you, a team player with you in your health and right there for you? Or do you feel he or she is not necessarily an advocate helping you for what's going on right now?
I can't really complain about my doctors. At first, when I first was having the issues, and I went to a chiropractor, and a lot of people with ankylosing spondylitis, they're told not to. They're told basically to stay away from a chiropractor because once your back fuses and that type of thing, as they're moving it, they could literally shatter your back.
Oh wow!
Once you're fused, but if it wasn't for my chiropractor. That saw me at the first time, did the assessment. He actually was the first one that said all your movements and everything are textbook for having ankylosing spondylitis.
Oh wow!
When I went to my family doctor and I said, "This is what my chiropractor is saying. I don't know." He would be the general practitioner. My family doctor was completely honest with me. He had said that in all of his years of practicing, he only had one patient that ever had ankylosing spondylitis, and the patient that he had, I mean, obviously names, that type of thing. It was just a situation that he was already fused and he already was hunched over. There was nothing really that he could do, and that patient, he said, ended up passing away. So when I came in with my diagnosis from the specialist,
right,
he said to me, every time I go in and I let him know what the specialist is saying, I'm actually teaching my family doctor
wow.
of disease because he's never dealt with it before.
Yeah, and a lot of doctors, like you and I were discussing that when you go to like the emergency room for something, as soon as you mention ankylosing spondylitis or Cosentyx, even the medications are on, nobody seems to know what it is or how to treat it or what we're going through. So they don't know what interacts with those drugs or what doesn't interact with those drugs. So it's quite a hard situation.
Yeah, if you had to go to the hospital and I mean, I only know this from working at the hospital as one of the cleaners. If I was to go to the hospital, they would have immediately put a mask on me.
Right.
It would be, you'd normally have people that are isolated for, say, if somebody has TB or has some really contagious condition, they would isolate them. Everybody that goes in would have to have gowns, gloves, masks, you name it. In my case, in our case, we'd actually do what they call as a reverse isolation. So we would be the ones that have the gowns and masks and everything else on to protect us from everything else that's out there.
Right. Hey, Food Forest, thank you for being here. Because we have low immune, so we're susceptible to everything.
And basically, that's the big reason why I had to leave my job. I mean, I was cleaning in an emergency department, so I mean, being immune suppressant now, I would be exposed to absolutely everything that walked in the door.
Jeez.
So on
Fucking
top of having the physical pain that I deal with every day, I would just be opening. Oh, there goes my cane. Um, um, I would be opening up myself to everything and anything that was out there and I would be right in. If somebody was bleeding, I would be the one cleaning up the blood, which I wouldn't want to be anywhere near. Being immune suppressant, I don't know what other people have that could be detrimental to myself.
Jeez. And now, did you have to do the TB testing as well before going on Cosentyx as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was pretty sure it was standard protocol now, but I wasn't fully sure if that's
They
for everything.
they had a hard time with me because when I first started at the hospital, when you first started at any hospital, they test you for all of that stuff right off the hop.
Okay.
When I first did mine, it came back inconclusive.
Oh.
And they didn't understand why. So I was around in the hospital, and apparently I was in an area where somebody was or had TB that I was exposed to.
Oh
So
my goodness.
they reran the test.
How?
That one came back inconclusive.
What?
So
Oh my
when
goodness.
when they were diagnosing me or putting me on the Cosentyx, um, they my family doctor did the test, and he basically said, "Come back to me in 2 days." He said, "If you don't have a red dot on your arm, you're good."
Good.
He goes, "There's no other blood tests that you can do to say like, oh, you're." But the hospital would do blood tests after giving you the injection in order to in order to see if you had that. My family doctor just said, "No, if you have no irritation, you're fine."
Yeah.
But I went through 3 tests, and 2 of them came back inconclusive.
That's scary. I'd be like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Oh my goodness. Please make sure you guys are hitting that thumbs up and make sure you guys are saying hello to our awesome guest, Shawn, who's here talking about ankylosing spondylitis. We both battle this disease together, and it's nice to hear what someone else is going through and give you guys a taste of what he's battling in comparison to how I've talked with you guys about some of the stuff that I've been battling and challenges and things like that. So wanted to open your eyes to more people battling this disease that's invisible, and it's coming out of the woodwork. A lot of people don't know this disease exists, and even when people see my name circulating Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, there's still a lot of people that are like, what is that? So it's nice to talk about it. It's nice to bring this to the attention of everyone and kind of let more people know what's going on and talk to some of the people that are battling this exact disease. Hey, all-time Hulk fan. Some of the other questions. So you said nobody else in your family has it. And what are some things that you wish that you could do that you can't anymore? Is there some things that like kind of bother you, or you look back and realize, that even a couple of years ago I was able to do this, but I can't anymore?
Working is one of them.
Mm.
I mean, I know it sounds kind of corny that I would say, "Hey, I want to go to work," but
No, but that's your lifestyle. That's what we've been born to do, right?
well, here's the thing. Like, I mean, I worked basically nonstop for the first part of my life as much as I could. Having 3 boys, that type of thing. I was making decent money when I was working at the hospital. Now I've cut my income pretty much to a third of what I was making before.
Right.
So financially, that type of thing, it's been kind of a struggle that way.
And it's hard because you have a family that you have, right? So it's
Yeah.
definitely something that bothers,
Yeah.
It's got a
Yeah.
disease like this.
And that was always my thing. If I wasn't able to work, then I really couldn't. I couldn't. You couldn't take care of your family. You couldn't.
Right.
There's a lot of things you couldn't do if you weren't working.
Absolutely.
And that's where a lot of my the depression that I have to deal with. That's where a lot of that comes from, is because I used to be the guy that my family called on when there was always an issue or that type of thing. Now it's been, in the last year, it's been flipped on me. Where
Right.
now I'm the person having to call people, and my psychologically, I'm just not used to this yet.
Yeah, and it's still coming to terms. Like even myself, like I didn't work for 5 or 6 years. I didn't work myself. So I can understand completely like how it feels to be someone that can't work anymore. You know, like I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to work again.
Yep.
And the only way that I was even able to try was because of Cosentex, the injection that I'm on now. Before that, nothing helped or nothing even considered, you know, working at all. So I wasn't able to. Hey, Life is 8. So it was, if it wasn't for Cosentex, I don't think I would have ever been able to go back to work or even try. So I can totally understand. And you are going through it in a different way than I am. You have more severe ankylosing spondylitis in comparison to myself. So you already were talking about fusion with your neck. Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. If I turn to my side, I don't know how much it would show up, but my head's forward. I can't actually put my head back and stand straight. I'm literally always stuck that way. Um, but the front of my neck is basically fusing to the
That's
point where if I was to look up, my eyes move because I can't I can't really move my head.
wow.
Um, Driving I can do. It might come to a
You have
time where
limitations,
what was that, Ash?
but you have like some limitations you were saying because of your neck.
Oh yeah, like to check a blind spot, I can only look so far, and I'm using peripheral vision basically to drive. So
Wow.
it does cause problems. I mean, if I'm on a highway, we drive 2 hours to my wife's parents. If I drive that and I'm on the highway, she's usually with me. That if I can't see, I would say, is there somebody there so I can change lanes or that type of thing. But
Wow.
I
Now,
mean,
do
I'm
you have any
able
fusion
to.
in your spine at all, or just the neck?
My lower back is all my lumbar discs are right now they're bulged or herniated, and they basically told me that I had originally they said that I had degenerative disc disease,
Wow.
so everything was starting to kind of fuse at that point. It wasn't until I went to the specialist in Hamilton that he actually sent me for the MRI that's set up um, for ankylosing spondylitis.
Right.
And right away, without having the gene, anything like that, he saw it in the MRI that it was there.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that it's so crazy too because we both don't have the gene. Like we both are HBLA27 negative,
Yep.
which it's supposed to be a genetic disease. They say this is a hereditary thing, it's a genetics thing, but no one in my family nor your family has this disease. So it's very strange how we have it. Maybe our ancestors, I don't know, but it's
Very well
hard to
could be.
say, right?
Yeah, for
Hi,
sure.
Crazy Rider. Thank you for being here, guys. I'm chatting with Shawn today. This is Shawn's first time being live on YouTube, so I appreciate you guys being here. If you guys have any questions for myself or Shawn in regards to ankylosing spondylitis, feel free to ask away. We'll answer them as we go. Please don't forget to hit that like button and share this stream on Twitter and Facebook if you get a chance to. That would be great. Um, Now, benefits. Is benefits something that you do have in your family situation to help with some of these medications? Because Cosentex is $2,000 a shot. So I'm on 3 myself. How many do you have to take currently?
I'm only on one currently. They're looking at moving me to two in January, and if my wife has really good benefits through work. Um, if it wasn't for that, I don't know where I'd be because there would be no way that I would be able to keep up and afford taking the medication had I not, had any type of benefit or subsidy, that type of thing. I'd be completely lost.
And it's hard. There's a lot of people that are struggling that don't have coverage for these drugs all over the US and Canada.
Oh yeah,
There are people that don't have coverage. So I'm thankful that you and I are both able to get the medications we need. And hopefully, if Cosentex isn't the drug for us, hopefully they come up with the next one soon because I remember waiting for 2 years just at the discussion of Cosentex. and we didn't know if it was going to work or if it was going to touch the surface or what have you. And I am blessed and thankful that it's sort of doing something. I hope it works better for you. And I always wish that for everyone, because a lot of people in our Cosentex group, for example, we're seeing side effects that they get, whether or not it's helping or not helping. Some of them have to go back on the other drugs, such as Enbrel, Simponi, Humira, Remicade. Those are all medications that I was on before as well. And you didn't have to go on those. So I wonder if Cosentex, say, doesn't work for you, if maybe you'll have to go back and try some of those.
Well, I know he was talking about if upping my dose doesn't work for me, then he was talking about Humira, but it's harder on my stomach.
Right.
Harder on my body.
Oh, Humira is treatable for Crohn's, so I wonder if it wouldn't be too bad on your body. I wonder.
I don't know, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
My specialist basically told me that Cosentex was it was a new drug at the time, which I guess in May it would have been still new, because really I don't know how many people with AS would have been taking it at that time.
Well, most of these drugs come out for psoriasis first. I'm not sure if you knew that or not, but almost all of these biologics were created for psoriasis first. So we kind of get the back shift for it. Like we get it last.
Right. No, but he said it was going to be the one that was going to be less
harsh on the stomach.
Harsh on your body, on your stomach, on your immune system, that sort of thing.
I'm really glad for you, especially everything you've gone through with the ulcer and everything like that.
Yeah, that was kind of what changed my whole perspective on things, because I mean, sure, I was medicating myself, ended up with the ulcer, but had it went the other way, I mean, where would my kids be today?
No kidding.
So,
well, I'm so thankful that you've been put on Cosentex. It started working for me, so I hope it keeps working or helping you. I'm trying to think here. Do you think you'd want to be involved or maybe elaborate on your YouTube channel, or maybe be a part of things to help educate others or bring awareness to this disease? And the only reason I ask is because at the time that I was going through this diagnosis, they had a lot of like forums and groups and symposiums and things at hospitals where you can go and you can actually advocate for what's going on with you in this disease. So there's opportunities for people like us where we can educate others on it and talk about our stories. Is that something that you might do in the future? Is it something you're comfortable doing, or is it maybe not something you are considering in the future?
I haven't really decided, to be honest. I mean, I don't have when I'm in with family, friends, or other people, I don't have a problem, discussing what it is, that type of thing. Trying to make people aware that it is actually out there. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are out there now that are saying, they're dealing with back pain and neck pain and they're just being misdiagnosed, right? I think it's actually more common than people think it is, and it's more common than it's being reported per se.
And there are a lot of there's other diseases that mimic ours too. So lupus and scoliosis, other spondylitis diseases with the same spondylitis in it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot.
And that's the thing too that I have to worry about with my kids, because they tend to say that AS is hereditary, that type of thing. Well, my two older boys, their mother was the youngest person on record to have surgery for scoliosis.
Oh, wow.
So I'm worried about my two older boys, that if she had scoliosis and I have now AS, in the future, it's like a double-edged sword, because they don't, and I hope to God that it's more scoliosis than it is what I'm dealing with, because I don't think I would wish this on anybody.
And it's so hard too, because I think about my son every day too. It's like, what's going to happen? Like, is this something that he's going to get too? Like, I hope our children are safe. Like, I hope they don't get it. I mean, for the simple fact that we didn't even have anyone in our families that had it. It's like, it's all these fears that we kind of have to worry about, like any other autoimmune disease, right?
Yep. And I mean, as far as going to the hospital and advocating for these types of things, hospital, although I used to work at one, Being now immune suppressed and autoimmune, it's probably the last place I want to ever go.
Yeah.
Because hospitals scare me now, in honesty. Because I mean, you don't know what you're going to walk out with.
Yeah, and that is it is something that we have to worry about with low immune. You never know, so it is very scary.
Yeah. I mean, I had to go not long ago. I had like a skin irritation that showed up on my back, and I had my wife walk in and get me a mask before I even left the parking lot to enter the building, because I just didn't know.
That's scary. Um, everything, just talking with you about some of this stuff reminds me of some of the things that I was going through with beginning stages and things like that. So I'm glad that I can be there with you as we kind of grow together with this disease and get to help each other through the stages of it. Do you find that your Cosentyx injections are helping so far? Or do you think that, like you said, the double dose is definitely the next step? So do you think with the double dose, you'll probably see more?
Well, I'm hoping. I really am hoping that in January that I can go ahead and do the double dose. Only, I did notice some type of change when I first started taking it. It was probably about a good month and a half before I started to notice anything that was significant enough that I was noticing it. I think for the most part, the Cosentyx is just making me comfortable,
Right.
but it's still not allowing me to function. And at 40 years old, I shouldn't have to have my wife tie my shoes for me, or put my shoes on for me, or those some of those personal things. I mean, I know it sounds wrong, but at the same time, like, there's sometimes she has to help me in the bathrooms because I can't. My back just doesn't turn. It doesn't. I have no movement that way. And being 40 years old, it's. I could see that if I was 75, sure.
I know we have the bones of a 90-year-old. You know what I mean?
So,
The boys,
yeah, it's
joints and bones of a 90-year-old.
mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. I mean, that's a lot of people ask me too, like, how are you feeling today? And although I'm 40, I really feel like I'm like 85.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. I don't know if I don't know with this disease. I don't know if I'll see 85, but
No, I hope we don't have to go through a lot of pain up until that point.
it sounds bad, but I mean, like, at the same time, with the pain and the suffering that you do go through, I mean, just getting up out of bed in the morning. If I was to sleep in a bed, I haven't slept in a bed in probably about a year. I've been sleeping in a recliner because it's the only way my back is comfortable enough. And
right, you're saying like a lazy boy sofa type thing, like a recliner, right?
Yeah. I can't lay flat in a bed because if my wife goes to work, she works at 5 in the morning. And if I have to get up with my son, there's no way I'd be able to get out of bed. I'd be like a turtle on its back because I couldn't roll over. I can't sit up.
That's terrible.
My lower back is just locked.
Yeah, that's definitely hard. And that's got to be hard. Like you said, everyday life is affected, and now you're in this progression of the stage where your mobility is definitely going to get harder and harder the older that you get. So it's definitely not getting easier.
They've told me basically that the Cosentyx is they're trying to slow the process down, but eventually the only way I'm going to be able to look forward is if I'm sitting in a wheelchair.
Wow.
My
Scary.
The other thing that I found that really kind of scared me is, and some of the people in the chat, they can probably try it as we're chatting, but if you take a deep breath, your chest will move.
Right.
My ribs move less than a centimeter when I take a deep breath.
We get our ribs and our chest and everything measured. For those of you at home that aren't familiar with a lot of this stuff, we have to get things measured on ourselves for breathing because our lungs is it more so collapse, or the chest cavity can be compressed. So
no, what I was told is that every joint in your body, it starts with your neck and your spine. That'll fuse first off, and then eventually it will work to your shoulders. Yeah. The reason why I can't walk is because my hips don't your hips are supposed to glide back and forth. Mine rotate. So the bottom of my spine literally does like a tornado, a movement while I walk, which just is excruciating because, last year this time we took my 3-year-old out trick or treating for Halloween, and I couldn't walk more than 3 houses down the street, and I had to stop.
Wow. And like that's like I remember when I go to my what do you call it, rheumatoid arthritis appointments, like when we go to the rheumatologist, they ask you like, what's your pain on a scale from 1 to 10? How hard is it for you to wash your hair or get dressed, or what are your, so then they measure our chest cavity and our breathing, from breathing in and breathing out, and then bending down or not bending down. So there's so many questions that they ask us and want to know, because that's something they have to keep up with on a regular basis, because we could be, developing much faster. So they always take measurements and take notes on how we're progressing each visit. So, and breathing exercises is something we're supposed to do. I don't always do them, I can say that for sure. But breathing is becoming harder. I don't know if you noticed that, but I notice it all the time.
I've noticed it for many years, actually. I was going through episodes where I was short of breath, that type of thing. I smoke the occasional cigarette now. I usually use a vapor. Now, just because I feel better, I'm not coughing. There's none of those side effects where you're coughing, or you feel like, with smoking, you just wake up every day feeling like garbage, really.
Yeah.
And I mean, now with AS, I don't need smoking to compound that.
Yeah, and smoking definitely. I know they are trying to get people with ankylosing to either quit smoking or not smoke, or they go about it differently with some of the treatments and stuff like that, because it interferes with a lot of the medications that are available for ankylosing spondylitis.
Yep. I mean, I did quit. I've kind of sort of, I don't want to say I started again, but I do have the odd cigarette, and I vape now. I've had a few things in my life lately that just extra stress that you really don't need, and stress is a huge thing when it comes to, you put stress on your body, and although everyday stress people get through, when you have AS, it really actually affects your body. Like it makes it hard to actually, it makes it harder to move than it normally would be.
Yeah. We do have a question from Food Forest Permaculture. Have you both tried healthier foods like juicing or smoothies or supplements? I'll let you go ahead and talk about that first. And hello, DJ SouthPaw. Welcome.
I haven't. I have and I haven't. I have tried being diabetic. I've had to since last November. Really, kind of. I'm careful, but I'm not as careful as maybe I should be.
Right.
In that sense, a lot of the time, the foods I eat now are based on my blood sugar and that type of thing. It's not. I haven't changed it because of AS. I've more changed it because of being diabetic. And I've talked to people that have said that being diabetic and changing my food intake, that type of thing, because of diabetes, when you lose the weight and that type of thing, it'll help the other, basically.
Yeah. Now, I haven't tried juicing. I have tried changing my food diet and eating, which is something we struggle with regardless. Now, they have said for some people it helps with inflammation, which I'm sure it probably does, because I can tell you right now, when I eat a lot of sugar or if I'm drinking too much pop, I find it causes more pain for me. But I find we go into I don't know about you necessarily, but I can speak for myself. I go into these depression states where I eat my emotions. And as much as I try to eat healthy and as much as I try to stay active, you get into a depression because of this disease that you you kind of overindulge in things that you really shouldn't. And I mean, I know a lot of people that even eat healthy and don't have a disease still do that from time to time, but I find it's a struggle for balance between eating healthy and staying active because we're battling so many things all at once with this disease. I would love to be able to just stay healthy, and that's my end goal is to be eating much healthier. But it's so hard. It's such a hard balance for me.
It is. I mean, with me,
I'll let you keep talking. I just wanted to let you know I'm gonna go go put my son to bed. So you
okay.
keep talking and I'll be right back. So you keep going with that.
Yeah, no problem. I do. I try to eat more healthy because of the situation. But like Ashley was saying, you do go through bouts of depression where you have really good days and then you have really, really bad days. So on those bad days, you do what you have to do, essentially, and not you don't necessarily worry about it because your mind is somewhere else. It's it really is a hard thing to balance.
All right, sorry about that. Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, so like even myself, it's just hard. I would love to eat healthy. I think everybody wants to eat healthy, but it's not, as my rheumatologist said, it's not 100% proven that it's totally effective. It can help to some degree when you're overweight, for example, and that's adding extra stresses to your back or your spine or joints that are affected. Obviously, extra weight is going to affect everybody differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, if I'm like, say, 900 pounds, my back's going to hurt a heck of a lot more because I have that extra weight.
Yep.
But if I'm, trying to stay active and lose as much, try to keep as much weight off as I can. I mean, the older we get, the harder it is. So it's not easy to balance that extra weight either, right?
Well, I mean, my doctors have told me basically that being diabetic and being with AS, normally they would say exercise, exercise, exercise. The problem with that is that, and I completely understand, and I would exercise if I really could. The problem is that I would exercise and then I'd be down for a day where I would not, I wouldn't be moving for a day.
Right.
So I would be exercising and that's all well and good. But then I would take 2 steps back because I wouldn't be able to move the following day.
And you said you vape now. Sorry. Food Forest Permaculture said smoking is acidic, and when you are acidic, you'll be sick. We do a pH test to see if we are acidic. Alkaline is the best. Yeah, I don't smoke, and Shawn's a vapor, so he used to smoke. But when I was going through a lot of these things with the disease, if I was a smoker, they would have denied me for so many things. So you're not technically supposed to be a smoker while going through a lot of these treatments. This Casentex injection that we're on is equivalent to chemotherapy. So it's a form of chemotherapy, basically.
Yeah.
Hey, Aniki, welcome. And DJ SouthPaw, thank you so much for coming. And who cares if you're late? Don't worry, honestly. Malta said he stepped away for a few moments and noticed that I have a wrench. Thanks, Asha. You're welcome. So I mean, there are circumstances where definitely eating much healthier. Obviously, eating the junk food is going to add inflammation for sure. You feel it when I am eating significantly healthy and I do go back to eating something that's not healthy. I do feel it. Like, I do legit feel it. But as far as some of the rheumatologists are saying, they're not saying that it's fully tested yet to help completely with everyone. So, and I mean, that's no different than a lot of the medications, and everyone is different. You know what I mean? So,
well, like that was my thing when I first started it. When I first went to the doctor and said I have back problems.
Right.
Being that I'm not a small guy either, and I mean I'm the first one to admit that I'm not. Ever since we were kids, it was healthy eating, exercise, that type of thing, and when you battle AS and the struggles that we both have dealing with with it every day, exercise doesn't come easy.
No.
Diet, yeah, if you're having a good day, and you're feeling okay that day, you do your best and try to eat healthy,
Hmm.
and then the next day you're fluctuating. It's like a roller coaster. You're on a
Yeah.
bad day, so it's kind of like, oh, at that point you don't care. You just want to feel better.
Yeah. And it seems like we do it to ourselves, but at the same time, like it is a difficult thing to, to struggle with. We do struggle. And Aniki is saying you love Taco Bell. I do, but I don't eat it as much anymore. I've made a pact with myself to stay away from a lot of the fast foods. And here in Canada, they made a lot of the trans fats illegal. So the companies have the next 3 years to completely remove trans fats, as an example, from foods. And my son and I have stopped eating as much fast. Like we didn't eat a lot of fast food to begin with. I would say we would cook and 50-50 maybe, but now we're eating a lot less fast food. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to do everything I can to eat better. And I love salads a lot and I love chicken. So my protein has been chicken lately. And we eat a lot of home cooked meals through the weekends. And I know it's easy to, as a routine, like me, for example, working, or even when your wife is exhausted from coming home from work, you guys want to eat something quick, right? Who wants to spend 45 minutes to an hour cooking dinner, then clean up, then eat, especially when you're battling a disease? You're like, forget it. The easiest route is McDonald's, but it's
Yeah.
not, it's definitely not healthy, right?
There's
So
a lot of times because I mean she does so much. I mean, if it wasn't for her, I'd be lost. Um, and really, I mean, if she comes home after a hard day, that type of thing, and she doesn't feel like cooking, I don't even argue anymore because I know what she deals with. Like
helping so much.
well, yeah, she constantly wears a cape in order to do what she
Super
does.
warrior. Hey,
But
Christian. Yes, I definitely believe your wife is a superhero for sure. She's definitely being a mom. She's battling, helping you battle with your disease, and she's
mhm,
taking on a lot of the responsibilities. So that's great. I mean, not great, but I get it, and for that, I'm glad that you have such a strong person there with you. You know what I mean? Like battling with you.
yeah, and that's a different thing. And I mean, that's what I when um, she she helps me out with everyday things and some of the emotions that I go through. Um, and she kind of gets it, but I don't know if she does because at the same time, I've always said that, um, the everyday struggles that I go through, she's always there for me. She's always got my back that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I say it with no pun intended, but I mean, I'm glad that she has my back because my back doesn't like me. Um, but the everyday struggles that I go through and that you go through, um, I'm actually glad that you and I had actually come in contact in regards to this because essentially I can, you go through life and you tell people that, I have this condition and they don't really understand the name. They can't pronounce the name. And you basically have to write it out for them to go Google it and kind of research it for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they really don't. I mean, you could read all the textbooks, you could read all the literature on it. Until you're living it, you really don't know what everyday life actually is all about.
Absolutely.
And that's why action that you and I have made in regards to with ankylosing and that, it's good because I mean I find it time that I was new to the condition or new to the disease. Um, I started watching the injection videos and that type of thing, and it actually brought my comfort level a lot. I was a lot more comfortable knowing that there was somebody else out there that was dealing with the same thing, where you could go through and suffer with it for so long, and not run into one person in your local area that had it or that knew about it.
Oh, we got a question from Slippery Fish. She said, "What's the hardest part about ankylosing spondylitis?" I'll let you answer, and then I'll answer after.
Um, the hardest part,
Yeah, because
everyday
we're
life.
also we're also in different stages too. So.
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's pretty much everyday life. I mean, I go through the physical struggles where if I drop something, I can't pick it up. Um, you depend on. I mean, I depend on my entire family basically to help me get through a day, and sometimes it can wear on them. They don't. they understand that I have the condition, but when you're constantly asking them for help, they can get kind of edgy too, right? And then you have the emotional side of it. So it kind of goes hand in hand. I don't know if I would say one's harder than the other. And that's why I say everyday life is just hard. It's
I almost find the fatigue is hard. I don't know about you, but even though we battle with this pain, I feel that we've built up an immune to it kind of. So
Mhm.
for me, I find sometimes the fatigue is worse for me because you're constantly fighting to stay awake.
Mhm.
And we were just talking last night about our sleep schedules. We can
Yeah.
fall asleep at the snap of a finger in the middle of the day, but when
Yep.
it comes time to go to bed, you and I are both like wide-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to go because it takes all day for us to de-stiffen and loosen up and get those joints moving and to get ourselves sort of mobile for the day. It takes us, different than everybody else. We can't just get up first thing in the morning, start our day. Now, when I do, I'm stiff the rest of the day because I got up so quickly. They do recommend that we stretch. They do recommend that we take it easy at first and, get into the groove for the day. But that's not always the case for us. We have to get our kids off to school. We have to live life even though, and that's the thing that is really hard, is we still have to carry on business as usual even though we're fighting this disease, and it makes it hard, right? Like it holds us back. And the fatigue for me is hard. The pain I'm getting used to, but I mean, it's those new levels of pain I find hard. But it's also people accepting that we have something because they look at us like we're fine. They look
Yeah.
at you like, what is wrong with you? You have nothing wrong with you. You're completely healthy. You're smiling. You look fine. So
I
that's
have.
the part of it too, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, my doctor. I just actually got one of the disabled parking things for my car. And if I wasn't walking out with my cane, people would like look at me and go, well, what is it? Why you're sure I'm walking to the point where I'm hunched over and walking forward without my cane. Um, I limp all over the place because the way that my hips move now.
Yeah.
Um, but if it wasn't for that, people would be like, "What's wrong? You have a, you know." And people tend to forget that there's disabilities out there that are invisible. I
Mhm.
mean, unfortunately, and I mean, I don't. It's one thing that I'm sure all of us in our lives have had to deal with, some more than others. But you do have, mental health disabilities. You have the physical disabilities that are physical, but not all the time, right? Like ankylosing spondylitis. You have good days and you have really, really bad days, and it all just depends on the day. Um,
I
a lot of
think
times,
DJ Southpaw also asked a question that I just wanted to not forget about. He
yeah.
said, sorry if you had answered already, but he said that I was misdiagnosed with sciatic pain. He also suffers from fibromyalgia. What is the difference between sciatica, fibro, and AS? So I think you and I both discussed that we both have fibromyalgia. Did we talk about that or no?
I haven't been diagnosed with fibromyalgia.
I was just recently diagnosed, but they've always assumed I had it. A lot of time when you have chronic pain, what happens is the rest of your body is trying to compensate while a lot of that pain is happening. So
Mhm.
sometimes your body will mimic pain, or your body will have pains in other places, and they classify it as fibromyalgia. There's other ways to explain it, I guess, but my doctor always says to me, when you're fighting, your immune system's fighting so many things, you're also taking on such chronic pain that you are building up fibromyalgia while having chronic pain. So now
They,
sciatica, I don't know what it fully is because I was misdiagnosed,
yeah,
but fibromyalgia, I don't know if you want to throw in more to that.
yeah. I mean, as far as I understand, sciatica is more your hip down shooting pains to your legs.
Yeah.
It's not, and I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor, that type of thing. But
I think it is kind of in the same area though as our lower lumbar joint though. That's why it was misdiagnosed, but and then
it,
Doug.
it, yeah, it is misdiagnosed quite a bit. Um, when I first before I was oh, slippery fish says sciatica is a pinched nerve.
Yeah, I had a feeling it was like a pinched nerve.
Right. Um, yeah. So with fibromyalgia, I'm sure it affects your entire body. AS is basically everything. I mean, your ankles could fuse up, your knees could fuse up. Like I said, my chest, my rib cage moves less than a centimeter when I breathe.
Yeah.
And it should have a lot more flexibility than that.
And that's why mine was misdiagnosed, because where the lower lumbar joint is on my left side, I was having pains down my butt cheek, down my legs. I had them all over my lower back area. So that's where the misdiagnosis came from, because I also just gave birth to a baby, which happens a lot for women because of the pressure and the heaviness of carrying the baby and having all that extra weight too. A lot of times that happens. So that's where the misdiagnosis came from. But absolutely. And then that's what my ankylosing was doing. It was sending that same kind of pain down my buttocks, down my legs. You know, it was the same kind of way that it started, because the inflammation was so large and so overwhelming that's why they had assumed it was.
Right.
Hey, Pamela. Hey, Charlene. Welcome.
That's why in females I think they have a hard time trying to diagnose it.
Right.
Because there are different things. I mean, myself personally, I didn't carry any children. I'm chasing children. but you know, they tend to, I don't want to say misdiagnose, but they tend to overlook it.
Absolutely.
And deem it something else before they would.
An MRI and CT scan is basically the best way to see, right? So I mean, it's going to mimic a lot of things. Like, look at lupus, for example. Like, Pamela is battling lupus, and there's a lot of similarities, where I remember when I was getting diagnosed, they were even thinking of lupus at the time. Once sciatica nerve and everything was all like you start getting symptoms that mimic so many other diseases. So it's hard. So process of elimination doesn't always necessarily work.
Well, like my chiropractor said to me when he first said that I was textbook. He's like, you have to go to your doctors and get the blood work done, the MRIs done.
Yeah.
That because I'm a larger guy, he had said that if you're diabetic, it mimics AS as well.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because you end up with diabetics end up with they have problems with their eyes,
right?
Feet, walking, that type of thing.
I never thought about that.
So he said, rule out diabetes first. I said, okay, fine. Have the testing done. Yay, I am. And then shortly thereafter, they diagnosed me with AS as well. So it was kind of a double-edged sword that I've been dealing with for the last little while. And I just, my fear of needles just kind of put me to the point where I just didn't want to get tested. My entire family, my mom, my father, my brother, my sister, they've all had diabetes at one point in their lives. My mom has been dealing with diabetes injections, insulin injections for probably a good 40 years. And that just, I couldn't do that every day. I couldn't.
I was thinking of something that, sorry to cut you off there, something that Art Heals Stephanie, what she had mentioned. She used to work for a rheumatologist, and she was asking a question about, she said a little bit about infusions and how they work. Do you guys do infusions, or are they just the shots? So ours are just injections now, but I was taking infusions before. So I was taking Remicade and lidocaine before through infusions, IV infusions. And the lidocaine was 45 minutes, and they honestly made me feel like I was drunk. Like, you had to have a driver, you had to have someone there to take you. I felt completely annihilated. Like, I felt like I had drank an entire case of beer or something. They made you loopy, and it didn't help for pain. It just made me completely loopy. And then the Remicade was 3 hours sitting in a chair in the cancer wing in the hospital, and you have to have the bag changed, and you go through a couple bags of it in the 3 hours. And it was $10,000 for Remicade. It was extremely expensive. And I thank goodness that was covered, but it didn't do anything for me. I had to do that for 6 months as well. So I have had infusions before, but from experience, they have not worked or have not done anything for me. but these ones are auto pen injections, and thankfully we've been getting auto pens. Sometimes from previous medications that are auto pens, they've had situations where they ran out of auto pens and have to give you the syringes, and the syringes legitimately we both cannot do.
I would send them back.
Oh, I just cannot do that to myself. You know, like I look at it this way: if I was on insulin and I needed it to survive and live, I guess I would have to do it if that was the only way. Yep. But given that this is something we're trying to make for pain, I just can't do the syringe. I had one by mistake one time, and let me tell you, I was almost on that floor. So it was incredibly brutal, and it's more self-inflicting because the AutoPen does it for you. It's just a click, push the button, and or hold it down hard. And so I will never do syringe again. So.
And that's the thing. My doctor had said to me, like, I mean, I've never been on the infusions or anything. It was the injections and a boatload of pills that I'm currently doing. But my doctor had joked with me. I'm hoping he was joking. Because I said that if I had to take the insulin injections, I don't know if I would be able to do it. Oof. I would want one of those. It's almost like I want to say it's like a fanny pack, but it's got the actual injector that sits on your stomach and it auto injects.
Oh wow!
And it literally it'll take your blood, your blood sugar.
A pump? Are you talking pump?
Yeah, one of the pumps, right? So I don't see it; it just happens, right?
Yeah, that's like the common way that people are doing it nowadays is the pump.
I mean, he had said to me, he said, well, he says if you have a problem giving your insulin injections, he said we'll just let your wife do it. And I said, well, don't get me wrong, she's got a lot on her plate, and I like her now. But if you put a needle in her hand and tell me that she's going to give it to me, that's going to change real quick because I don't. I'm like terrified of needles.
Well, you're probably on the floor like me.
Well, I don't move very fast, but she wouldn't be able to catch me.
I agree, Stephanie. Remicade is very harsh. I hear a lot, like there are a lot of side effects from a lot of these drugs. She said our room office had a room for infusions. It was really nice. It had blankets and pillows so patients could sleep and be nice and warm. It was the same way here for this too. They would give you anything you wanted to drink, or if you wanted a snack or whatever, blankets and pillows. And during the infusions, you do get very cold. So I would always bring like a sweater, but they would give you blankets and stuff too, because when you have that stuff going through your veins, it does tend to make you very cold. So it's very tough.
It's like going through dialysis. I used to work on a dialysis unit. And those people freeze when because you're taking their blood out and cleaning their blood and putting it back into their bodies. So as their blood, as the machine takes their blood out, you get really cold because you don't have any body heat at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just reading something that DJ SouthPaw had said about surgery, the surgeries. At first, when I was going through the back pain and pre-diagnosis, they were talking about doing surgery with me. And for one, working in a hospital, I said, well, I'm really kind of nervous about that because if I have to go under the knife for anything in regards to my back, I get the surgeons are trained to handle these things. However, one slip up and I could be paralyzed.
Absolutely. So and that's the risk too. Like
I was really nervous about that. When I went to my specialist, he said to stay right away from surgeries with AS. Because what they'll do is they'll go in and they'll correct one disc, and the AS will affect above and below that disc. So you'll have to go in for another surgery for another disc, and it would just keep extending. There's no really fix for it. I was reading there was somebody in the US that he had his neck like myself. Eventually, I will be looking at the floor, and they were taking discs out of his neck in order to have him sit. Basically, like to actually put his head back. And I think he went through 4 or 5 surgeries, and I was like, there's no way I'd ever put myself through that.
Right. And DJ, just to read it out loud, the fact that he has the 5 herniated discs in his lower spine plus stenosis, and that's what causes sciatica, already had back surgery, and he's supposed to have another to add rods and pins to your spine. That's just, wow, overwhelming, I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't know if I would be able to. I have to give him credit because I don't know if I'd be able to do it myself.
No.
I think of it in the sense that, and I used to say, I said this to my older boy's mother as well. She was, I think she was 13 when they put a metal plate in her back for scoliosis.
Scoliosis.
And when she had my second son, she was saying that she was having back pain, and I said, well, here's where I'm at. I'm like, if you think that the back surgery will increase your quality of life,
Mm-hmm.
then fine. Go ahead and get it done. If it comes to the point where you can't deal with your children, like if she couldn't pick up my son type thing when he was young, go get the surgery done, because that's something you're taking away from him, as
Yeah.
well as you're going through the pain. If you can live without the surgery, by all means, don't.
Yeah, and I went to a spine surgeon. I had a referral to 2 spine surgeons, and they won't do anything because of my age. So at the time, we were going for hips as well, like hip replacement as well as joint replacement. And they will not do anything if you're a certain age, or unless you're going through severe fusion, then it's something they'd consider. But the thing is like, as many of you may or may not know, this disease could become fatal. It can kill you. You eventually do become hunched forward. Your rib cage can break, and then the ribs will puncture through your heart. So there are situations where this has become fatal for a lot of people in severe stages of this disease. So
Yeah,
it
I mean,
can become fatal for any of us, depending on the rapidness of the disease and inflammation. So
for sure. I mean, I've always thought about it, and I mean, I'm not sure if you remember, Dash, but when you were growing up and you'd see those commercials where it was like, I've fallen and I can't get up.
yes.
But really, now I'm living a thing that I'm living with AS, and it's the point where if my wife was at work, my son was at preschool, whatever, and I fell, I'd be there until somebody found me, because I don't think I'd be able to get up.
And when you become a parent, I don't know about you, but I've had nothing but nightmares thinking about it as well. If something happened to me with this disease and it just killed me, and I was home with my son, and he wouldn't know what to do. So I
Yeah,
think about that all the time as well. And that's the same way with the falling and you can't get up. I mean, eventually that's how it is, right? Like you can't get
yeah,
back up.
yeah.
So
I mean, I did fall with my 3-year-old. I was having one of those decent days that I felt okay. He was kicking a ball in our living room, and the ball had kind of like went to the bottom of my foot, and I did fall, and I went down fast enough that I didn't even have the thought process to break my fall. So I literally landed on my shoulder, and I laid there for like 30 seconds. He, being a 3-year-old, it scared him pretty good.
mhm.
Thankfully, my wife was there, but it took me about 30 seconds before I could start moving to get back up. And that's the day I decided that I was going to use the cane, because if I'm not stable enough that I couldn't take a ball to him type thing, then I really have issues with standing up and doing just regular everyday things.
Yeah, and it's scary because, even do you remember that one day I did a live stream and I was so stiff I could barely move? It's like my little guy is not going to be able to lift me up or move me around, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's like I can't imagine you going down as well and like being home with the kids and them having to figure out how to get you up, you know?
yeah. My 11-year-old is a little bit stocky. He may be able have more of a chance, but my oldest, he's athletic. But he has no weight to him. He's literally
Yeah.
a pencil. And my 3-year-old, I mean, he would just look at me and go, "Okay, you fell."
Yeah.
There's not really much you can do, right?
I wanted to say hello to Ankush and Weaves World. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button, guys. This is Shawn. I'm doing an interview with Shawn today. He's another fellow ankylosing spondylitis sufferer, and we are battling together. And hey, Dakota and family. Symptoms? Absolutely. Do you want to explain what your symptoms were? And I can always jump in and say if mine were the same or.
Mm-hmm. Mine really were. It was the lower back pain for sure. But after doing an MRI, they only did the MRI for my lower back, so that's when they said that I had the degenerative disc disease. Come to find out, I had 5 bulged or herniated discs in my lower back. Um, Shortly thereafter, my neck, basically, it was to the point where I couldn't move it, and my doctors at that time said everybody's got back pain. I had said to them at that point that I get that everybody may have back pain at my age, and yes, I carry different weight. but I knew myself that there was something else there.
Yeah.
It was something that I've carried the weight for so many years that I didn't think it was going to be an issue. I didn't think it was, I would get so used to carrying that weight and that type of thing that it wouldn't really affect me. I mean, I've kind of fought through it for so long that I just kind of went with it. But when
for example, sorry, mine was neck too. Like I had neck problems. I was constantly getting stiff necks and, any movement of any kind, like over walking or bending down, it was just intense pain. And then it wasn't until late, like maybe months later, I started getting all over body arthritis.
Yep. Yeah, they told me at first it was inflammatory arthritis that I had, and then when I went to specialist, he said no. He goes, that's part of it, and that's why you have your good days and your bad days, because when you have an inflamed um, period of time, it puts more stress and you have lack of movement.
Yeah.
So it starts to affect everything else, but it was the AS it was the lower back pain with the bulged and herniated discs. And as they started to look into it, this is what they finally they finally diagnosed me with.
Dakota and family is asking things they use to diagnose. So for me, for example, it was CT scan and then MRI, and then they can do the blood test as well, just to see if you have the genetic gene HBLA27. But mine was negative. And for you, did you do a CT scan, or how did they diagnose you?
I went to originally it was my chiropractor. Had I not seen him and him knowing about AS, I wouldn't have had any idea. I wouldn't even have looked into it or questioned it. And then I went to when he mentioned it, he could only see it in X-rays that I had the bone structure for AS, but he needed the medical part of it. So I had to go to my family doctor, and I said, well, this is what my chiropractor is telling me that he thinks it is. Can I look into this and try to find out if it is actually what he's thinking? He sent me for the MRI. I did a few X-rays for the specialist. I did a second MRI that was literally from the top of my head all the way down to my tailbone. And that's when he came back within like about 2 weeks, and he said, "Yeah, we're starting this now." And because I was dealing with it for so long, I got so used to it that having that answer, having that diagnosis was a relief.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, it was unknown to me. It was what is it? What is it going to do to me? How am I going to go through every day and struggle with it every day?
Yeah. I just wanted to take a moment to say hello to Veronica, Dakota, and family. Weaves. I hope everybody's well. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is Shawn's very first time going live on YouTube. He's never revealed his face yet before on YouTube. So I'm very thankful that he was willing to do this interview with me today to talk about things that he's been battling with ankylosing. We've been asking questions all throughout. If you do have more questions, feel free to ask. We'll definitely get to those. Do you always have a stiff neck? I had to go for a neck scan similar to what you were talking about, where I had to wear the full face mask thing, which I'm very claustrophobic. It was very scary, all because my stiff necks were getting worse. And they are very intense. They are terrible. Oh, Weaves World, thank you so much for becoming a patron on my channel. Love you, buddy. That is awesome. Sorry, I had to take a minute to say that. I just got the notification. Thank you so very much, Weaves. Love you, buddy. I went because after being diagnosed with this disease and being inflamed for so long, you do end up getting more pain in areas that you maybe didn't notice or see in the beginning. So now it's my knees, it's my ankle joints. These wrist and hand joints are terrible. If you notice during this stream, I constantly adjust myself because I'm constantly always uncomfortable. Sitting, laying, and standing has become it's a rotation between the three. But neck has been awful. So I had to get an Obis form pillow, And that has honestly helped me significantly. And I highly recommend them for people because it does keep your neck in position. So with ankylosing spondylitis, now I know you have to sleep in a recliner, so your positioning is a little bit different. Now
Right.
for me, because I can still lay flat, a lot of people either lay flat with no pillow, a very thin pillow, or they need something, right? And for me, I've tried all different levels, and I could lay on no pillow and still get a stiff neck.
Yep.
So the obus form keeps you kind of secured in position, in a propped up position where you're actually staying in that position more so instead of flopping around all night and affecting your neck more.
Yep.
So I constantly get checkups on my neck with MRIs to make sure that it's not getting worse. And I do have a bulge. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I have a big bulge on my neck. So
Yep.
the top of my spine, that is causing a lot of problems for me. So possibility of some fusion, I don't know, but I'm always getting checked out for that. Now you, Dakota, you weren't here when he explained it, but he has fusion in his neck and he can't move his neck.
Yep. The other thing that I actually have never mentioned in regards to it, something that my chiropractor had told me that he saw, but he can't really mess around with my neck too much, is that my C1, it's supposed to actually sit, I believe it's on a 21-degree angle for, I think it's forward, in your neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mine's actually 21 degrees sideways.
Wow.
And up, where it's actually cutting off the blood flow to my head. They said if he moves it and tries to readjust it back into place too quickly, I'll end up getting a head rush, headaches for months, that type of thing. So
Wow.
they haven't even messed with it yet. So that's another issue with my neck that I have. So I don't know. I mean, he adjusts it every once in a while, but it's literally a pediatric. It's a pediatric tool that he uses basically, and he's so light on my neck to try to shift it, but not enough that it's going to basically, put me out for 3 months.
Like, do you deal with the fusion or do you get more problems? Like, holy Moses, that would be awful. Like, we
Yeah,
get headaches from Casentex because I do.
I don't actually. I haven't had
Oh,
that problem.
you're
The
blessed.
When I first started, and I haven't noticed it so much now. When I first did start Cosentyx, probably because I started in July, after the pharmacy decided to put my prescription aside for a month and not bother. Um,
Ridiculous.
Thank you, pharmacists. They can read doctor signatures, but they can't read a prescription. Um,
Which is still.
um, but in August, I don't know if it's because of the loading dose that I was doing, and then going in my first month, but probably the first week after I took my injection, I couldn't leave the house for probably about a week because everything that I ate would go through me. I'd get an upset stomach, and I just couldn't move. I couldn't leave the house. That's for the most part subsided. So I don't get that reaction anymore. But that was really the only thing that really really affected me when I first started, and something that I've had to deal with because of Cosentyx.
Rehabilitation. Sorry, I'm just typing to Dakota in the chat. Basically,
Yeah, yeah.
surgery is something that I could have in the future, perhaps, but then there's a lot of extensive rehabilitation that goes with that as well. So, we definitely could have surgery in the future, but the thing is like, look at hip replacement, for example. If I was to get my hips replaced, they still have to be replaced another 10 years from now again. So like, they're
Right.
not something that the joints are the same way. Like, to have a joint replacement or have anything done, a lot of those things have to be replaced again. So that's why they tend to not do it with someone such as like my age of 35 and your age of 40. We're still classified as young for the length of time it takes to have to go back and replace those again. So, and they want to see us, unless we're in excruciating, like, I mean, you're in a worse position mobility wise than I am, but they want to see it even worse off than what you are before they'll consider surgery.
Yeah, see, the thing is I think that with our with AS, what it does is they would go in and fuse your spine for you.
Yeah.
Okay. They would do that at our age. The problem with doing that now and working in a hospital, I kind of understood it for you know a little bit more in depth, but if they were to fuse my back at 40 years old, and right now I would be fused, there would be no movement in my back. I couldn't sit forward. I couldn't do anything really.
Yeah.
As I age at 60, as your bones get more brittle and you get more forgetful, right now I'm aware of things that I cannot do. Whereas I get older, people tend to forget. They don't understand some things. Alzheimer's runs in my family.
Mine
So,
too. Oh my
so
gosh.
it's, I don't want to forget that, hey, my back is sore. And if I go to bend, I could literally, because my back's already fused, it would shatter your spine. And then you're in way worse condition than you were prior to it.
Yeah,
So,
we both have bone deterioration where our bones turn to powder. So
mm-hmm.
it's what happens to our bones with overinflammation. So even for someone like me, where the inflammation's been going on for 8 years without anything helping, it's like the inflammation is so severe. There's scar tissue, there's bone deterioration. So he takes Casentex like me. That's the pain medication, Jerry.
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there.
No. That's fine.
But no, and thank you so much for the questions, Dakota. I know you missed some. We did answer some of those, so that's why I was starting to write some of them in the chat, just because you missed at the beginning. One other question that I just had, actually two. A, how do you stay positive? And B, what kind of things do you do to pass the time since you are at home? What helps you get through coping with having ankylosing spondylitis? And how do you stay positive? Like, how do you stay without going into such a funk or such a depression? How do you stay sane?
For the most part, I mean, it's. I don't go out of the house all that much now. A lot of my family started to notice that. It's basically the reason why I try to stay positive is for my wife and my kids, because really, I mean, if they see me suffering and if they start to see me per se give up and just give into it, it's going to it's going to be an emotional toll on them. The kids are going to be a mess that way. And having three boys, you just want to keep fighting, because I mean, you want to try your best and try to do whatever you can, whether whether you're 15 or whether you're 40 or whether you're 80. You try to put your best foot forward, but it does get hard. Do
you play video games or listen to music, or like what helps you when your wife's at work, the kids are at school?
Music's a big thing for me. I tend to watch a lot of news. Normally, if there's something going on in the world, I'm usually the guy that knows, because it's either between the local news stations, CNN, different things that are going on in the world. I'm usually on top of all of those things.
So you're the go-to guy, basically.
Yeah, because I used to work as a security guard and a private investigator, actually, at one point. A lot of the investigative shows, documentaries, that type of thing, that just kind of keep my mind off of what I'm going through.
Yeah.
That's really how I try to get through it. It's more of a diversion, because I mean, yes, I might be suffering every day. There's a lot of things I can't do that I feel like I'm a burden to a lot of people. My family, that type of thing.
No, you're not, by the way. You're not a bird. I know we just feel that way, but I know what you mean.
It's something that you it may not be the forefront of your mind all the time, but it's always there, because I mean, for me anyway, being that I don't have the mobility that I'd like to, that I can't, my son's 3, in 3 years, I think I've bathed him twice. I can't I can't kneel down to the tub and try to get back up. It wouldn't happen. I'd end up in the tub with him, or on the bathroom floor just laying there. Those are things that my wife has to do, and I honestly don't know how she keeps up. I really don't. I have to give her all the love and respect in the world, because I don't know where I'd be without her.
Yeah.
It's just I between the news documentaries and usually if you're on or if one of our fellow YouTube celebs are on, I usually kind of partake in that. I don't sleep, so usually I've seen you and I've been on people's streams at like 3, 4, 5 in the morning.
We are night owls, that's for sure. I try to go before you, that's for sure. I try, but because I have to function in the morning too, and it's hard, right? But it's hard. We can't sleep. We can't sleep because that pain is intense, right?
Like next year, my 3-year-old, he'll be going to school. Thankfully, we have a Catholic school across the street, and chances are he'll be going there because if my wife's at work at 5 in the morning and I have to get him up to literally walk out of our apartment building and literally across the street, it's a lot easier than having to drive him to a couple blocks away because I couldn't necessarily walk him to school. It would take me all day.
And that's the thing, with this disease, you have to find things to make it easier for you. So like I said, the shoehorn was one, so I don't have to bend down to put my shoes on. We moved to an apartment that's ground floor so that I don't have to take stairs anymore. And walking is hard. So I push a shopping cart. I might not use a cane yet, but I use a shopping cart and I lean on that now to avoid having to get a cane. You know what I mean? So are there things like that too that you are trying to find and change to benefit yourself for the ways that things are now getting harder mobility wise? Like you said, for your wife to put your shoes on, so you might just throw sandals on so you don't have to do that.
Well, she's not home. It's usually sandals, flip flops, whatever's easy to slip on. It'll be 6 feet of snow outside, and I'll probably still be out there in flip flops.
Yeah, I wear it in the snow too. His link is in the video description as well, Jerry. His channel is in the details. He's slowly growing his channel, so definitely go check him out. I'm hoping maybe he will start posting videos because he definitely is a warrior. I agree with you so much. Shawn, I definitely want to say thank you. That's really all the questions I have. So we can just talk about anything, all surrounding it. But I want to say thank you. I do feel that even though your wife is helping you do so much, you are definitely an ankylosing spondylitis warrior for sure. You are definitely going through a tougher challenges than I am for sure. You are going through different forms of inflammation than I am, and you're a little bit more severe. So it's almost like I might have the voice on YouTube, but it's almost like you're the one that should be advocating because you honestly are going through much more severe stages than someone like myself. So it gives people almost like an insight of what they're looking into for the future, because I mean, literally that's what it is. Like I might be the beginning stage, look like a beginning stage, even though I've had it for 10 years. You might be the next stage for me. What you're feeling and going through might be where I head next to. You never know. And eventually we will be wheelchair bound and, not able to walk physically. So, I mean, this is, the weather is definitely really hard. Jerry, he was asking how the weather is by you. For Weaves.
It's pretty much.
Weather affects us here in Canada. It makes us more stiff, and it's getting colder here.
Well, like my chiropractor said to me, I saw him yesterday, and I usually go once a month now because of Cosentyx, and it's kind of Cosentyx is my go-to, and then my chiropractor I usually go to him about a week before I take my injection.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Cosentyx starts to wear off. And he said, as the cold weather comes, which I think they said we're going to be down to 6 degrees here tonight. The snow's coming. He said it's going to get, as it gets colder, it's going to affect us a lot more. And that I may actually have to see him twice a month type thing, just to, on top of the Cosentyx, just to get by. Yeah.
And the cold is not, I mean, the summer's not good either. I mean, it doesn't matter if we're in cold or hot. I still think we are affected, but the cold definitely makes a difference as far as getting stiff so quickly, where in the heat it's not like that. It's different, but I sweat more because of the inflammation. Like, do you find that you sweat a lot with inflammation?
I sweat all the time. I mean, I could be in a t-shirt in outside in the winter, and it wouldn't really, people would be like, hey, are you cold? I got a little bit more insulation than I probably should.
Yeah.
But,
Me too.
But no, I'm always hot. Like, I mean, our I live in my apartment building that I live in, where we have our air conditioners actually still in right now. I all the people that live around me, and I'm on a ground floor too. I've only got 3 steps to go outside, but everybody around me is all seniors. So right now, all the heat in their apartments are cranked, and I don't even have to put my heat on because it just heats my apartment, right?
You're the same way.
So I just I'm always hot. It doesn't matter. I have fans running in my house now.
And I should have mentioned that to Slippery Fish when he was asking us, because honestly, fatigue and sweating are the 2 that are the killers for me. I mean, and you would think I would say pain right off the hop, but it's because we're so used to it now. You know, of course I would love to go, and if I could have one wish and not have pain anymore, absolutely. But I mean, we're talking about miracles happening here for that to happen. But if we could manage to control some of the fatigue or just the sweating alone from active inflammation, I have never sweat so much in my entire life, and I'm always hot. I don't like socks because of the heat, extra heat. I wear tank tops usually and shorts. Like I'm wearing shorts right now, and if I wasn't doing a live stream, I would have had a tank top on, but I wanted to like look a little bit more presentable. But it's hot in here, and that's what we wear.
I had to dress up a little bit more than I would be at this time usually, for obviously being live. But no, the sweat, the heat for sure. One thing I would mention. I don't know if you've been told this in the past, and some of the people in the chat, they may if they're having the same types of things. I know, like Pamela, she suffers from lupus, that type of thing.
Yeah.
What I've been told too is that if you're going, and I know how you were saying about it's harder to get around in the cold, and it's actually better for us in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I was told though is if you're going to use, because I used to use before I was on Cosentyx, I used to put what they call biofreeze on my back.
Oh, okay.
I've tried
some of those.
It would be like, but I would get like the professional stuff that you couldn't get in a regular.
Wow.
It was like a gel, and my wife had to put it on my back because I just couldn't move. Every doctor I've talked to has always said, do not, or try to, especially with AS, stay away from hot, topical creams and stuff like that heat your muscles up. Because what happens is you're tricking your mind to say, hey, I feel fine. You bend, you actually injure yourself more. With cold, it'll numb your pain, but it's still there. So when you go to bend over, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. So you're not dealing with the pain, but you're still cognitive of the condition. Where heat will trick your body into saying, hey, I'm fine, and you'll do more damage to yourself.
I thought you were actually going to take it differently, and that's why I was smiling, because I used some of that like A535 sprays before, but more recently, Arbonne Canada has this muscle ointment gel that is very menthol and very amazing, and it actually helps me. The problem with this one is in the hot days of the summer, it reactivates with sweat, and it reactivates when it's on your clothing. And I actually had a 2-hour drive to Toronto one day in the scorching heat. And, when you sit in a car for 2 hours, you do sweat. Like I sweat whether I have the air conditioning or the windows open or whatever, because your body is rubbed up against that chair for so long that you're building kind of sweat and you're kind of reactivating that, body stuff. So I was on fire because it started to wear off, and then it re-rubbed together with perspiration and just rubbing on my clothing. My entire back was on fire because I was getting hot, and this stuff reignited, and it made me like burn. Like my back was burning. And you're not supposed to wear it like and let your clothing get on it and let it reactivate like that. So, oh my gosh, I've had some bad experiences with a lot of those creams, and there's a lot of creams that didn't work for me either. I have been trying a lot, like a guinea pig.
When you probably get them at a chiropractor. It's not necessarily always because they have biofreeze in like a spray, which it's basically, I mean, it's like hairspray. You just spray it on your back and hope to God it works. They have a like a cream. You rub it into your. I always have my wife usually use a latex glove to put it on my back because her hand will literally freeze up and it'll go numb. She won't be able to use it.
Yeah.
And I mean, she has to chase me and my 3-year-old all day long normally. She can't be doing that. But I actually get it's a thicker gel. It's called a professional, like a professional grade of the stuff. It's thicker, so
Wow.
it lasts longer on your back. It doesn't disperse. You know that it doesn't disperse that quickly, and it lasts a lot longer.
Oh, wow.
But that's what
up with some of this stuff.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, my wife's parents live in Toronto, near Pearson, and we go to a chiropractor there. That I think it's 20. The professional stuff is 20. I think it's $20 for a tube.
Oh, wow.
But it was my go-to. I'd wake up when I was able to sleep in bed. I'd have to roll over. My wife would have to put cream on my back.
Yeah.
And the biofreeze, and I'd have to wait 15 minutes, and then I would be able to move. But with her working so early, I can't have her put cream on my back at 4:30 in the morning, and then have to try to get up a few hours later and get going through the day.
That's crazy.
But that was what I was using before. That's really the only thing that really helped. A535, yes, it was there, that 305 oil, whatever. Yes, it helped, but every doctor I talked to said to stay away from the heat creams, because you're going to do more damage to yourself than you may feel fine.
Like you said, if you think you're doing, like, you can have more mobility, you're actually going to hurt yourself more in the long run.
Yeah.
See, I haven't found any of them to help me in that aspect, like where it gave me more mobility. So if these professional ones, as you say, maybe help, then holy crap, that'd be awesome. Even just for while I'm working.
Yeah. You'd have to find them I would say they'd probably be at a chiropractor's. I know in Canada for a long time you couldn't get them other than at a chiropractor or a doctor, that type of thing.
Yeah.
In the US, it's in Walmart. you can buy it on the shelves. But
I've got that Voltaren and it doesn't do anything. I wish it worked for us like it does for others, but
yeah, I tried it, and I think I gave it like maybe a week, and I was like, no, I can't do it.
It's like a moisturizer. It doesn't do anything.
It's like taking a Tylenol for what we're dealing with, instead of having.
And it's hard. I mean, obviously, it's going to be hit and miss. Some people with this disease do have. There are people with fewer symptoms. There are people that have very little pain. There are many different levels of this disease. So it's just unfortunate that you and I are two people that have, more severe than some of those people, because they can take anti-inflammatories and be fine, or they can take some of those creams or Tylenol and Advil and they're okay because it helps calm their pain. So I'm glad there are people that can have, lighter forms of it. So I'm blessed. I think they're blessed for sure.
If you take an anti-inflammatory and that type of thing, like I was taking naproxen, you can take it for so long.
Yeah, because then they're tough. Yeah, then it'll happen like it happened to you.
Yeah, I really kind of warn people about that, because I mean, just with my situation that I was taking, you may feel great, everything else, and then one day I got lightheaded, and I actually drove from my work. They sent me home, and then my wife actually talked to my family doctor, and she said she left work and basically came home to get me. So we're going to the hospital, and I said, well, why? What's going on? And they said that if you have blood in your stool, or like a tarry stool, it's old blood that's coming from your stomach.
Oh, wow.
And if that's the case, my doctor basically said, don't come see me and don't make an appointment. Get to an emergency.
Get to an emergency room. Absolutely.
And then I spent the week there.
Is there any other questions while I have anybody that wants to ask questions before we wrap up the live stream or anything like that? We actually went longer than I anticipated. We've been live for 2 hours now and 6 minutes. And it actually went well. I'm really glad, and I'm very thankful that I was able to have this interview with you. Weaves, thank you for the new Patreon support. I just added you to the description down below. So if anyone hasn't checked out Weaves World, please go check him out. He's now linked down below in the description of this live stream. And I also have Shawn's channel link. So please go check out his channel, give him some support as well, and help his channel grow as he decides what he's going to do with his channel. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we haven't touched based on, or if there's anything else that you wanted to add. I just want to say thank you very much for being here. It means a lot to me to have someone else talk about their struggles with this and, you know, what they're going through, because I feel like I've been talking about it on here for so long myself. And, you know, I want people to see other people and know that it's not just me, and listen to somebody else. You know what I mean? Like it's different hearing it from the same person all the time, but to hear it from others and see the differences between us, even because there are quite a few differences, and even your living situation is different, and you know, your fusion and things like that. So I'm very blessed to have had you here, and I hope that this is a good first experience for you being on a live stream. I hope you'll do it again.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know. I've never been one for, you know, to do a solo video, that type thing. But
Yeah.
definitely, if there's, you know,
Maybe you can do panel hangouts, you know?
well, that's it. If we're doing, you know, I may gear it more towards an autoimmune or that type of thing, because really, I mean, my whole YouTube experience, I mean, my kids always watched gamers and all those kind of things, and I never understood it. Once I was diagnosed and you know, I had found your channel. There's people, you know, and I've said this to you before, you know, yes, I have people that help me through the day and get me through the day.
Yeah.
But they don't really understand what the struggles I have and I go through. And had I not found your channel and at the very beginning of my diagnosis and my struggle, it kind of gave me that strength to keep going, because you really don't know what to expect. And that, you know, just to have that other person there that you know, understands the daily struggles and you know, it's inspirational that way to just keep fighting it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I could be here to help, even if it's, you know, in the slightest way. I hope there's more people that come through that we get a chance to talk to throughout YouTube. And thank you, everyone in the chat, for being here. I know it's been a long stream, so for those of you that might come back and watch this later, if you've gotten to this point, A+ for that.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah, thanks for sticking with us, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I hope it was educational yet fun and witty at the same time. I was trying to make it not so serious, but at the same time still get to the point and what we wanted to discuss with you guys. I look forward to maybe having you on another panel hangouts where we can do like a fun live stream with some friends and stuff like that. And you definitely have made a friend here for life, buddy. I absolutely am so thankful we met, and I'm excited to meeting you in the summer, because we will be back to Niagara Falls, and I will definitely make sure we meet up this summer. I was in Niagara Falls before, but didn't have a chance to meet up with Shawn. But and I'm glad this interview happened, because I am starting to feel a lot better. Like, even just sitting here talking, I'm feeling so much better than I was like a few hours ago. So I'm glad we still went through with this after all. And Malta, thank you for being here the entire time. That's awesome. And James, thank you so much for sticking us out and multitasking and being a moderator as well as in other streams. You are fantastic. I just honestly am so thankful. So thank you very much, Shawn. Thank you for being here for 2 hours. And if any of you are battling ankylosing spondylitis or know anyone battling ankylosing spondylitis, definitely let them know there are people like myself and Shawn out there that are willing to talk about it, willing to be there for support. You know, his link is down below. This is my channel. You're more than welcome to tell them about me or Shawn. And we definitely want to be able to open it up to others and welcome them to this community, as well as let them know they're not alone. Definitely not alone.
Yeah, definitely give us, you know, I may not do videos like solo videos, that type of thing, all that much. I'm actually more comfortable probably doing the discussion thing in the panel.
Yeah, well, you're more active on social media too. Like, you text back and you Facebook back. Like, you're great with that. So
I mean, definitely, if people want to contact me on even just throw me a message on YouTube if that's, you know, the way that you need to do
comment
that.
down below even, and let us know if you are looking to reach out to one of us and you have ankylosing spondylitis and maybe don't want to be open about it. There are a lot of people that are still A, in denial, B, don't want to talk about it openly and are still struggling with it. And there are a lot of people that are still in shock that they have this diagnosis. So you don't have to be open about it. You don't have to make it public. I choose to do this because I do want it to be aware, bring awareness to it, but not everybody is like that. So don't feel like you have to.
Yeah, I'm more open now, speaking about it now than I was, because when I was struggling with it before, prior to my diagnosis, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go to work and make it look like I was making excuses because I couldn't do certain things. And it was more of a pride thing to keep kind of fighting it. And then
I have those moments myself. I'm not going to lie.
I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much. I think it's probably good to end it here since it's been 2 hours. I don't want to make it too long for everyone, for those that do come back and maybe skim through and stuff like that. But thank you guys so much for being here. Shawn, thanks again for being here on your very first live stream on YouTube. I hope to have you on some panels to come. And if there isn't any other questions for us, yeah, no problem, Dakota and family. Thank you for being here. James the Sharp, Jerry Kowalczyk, Dakota and family, Malta, DJ SouthPaw, Weaves World, all of those that might still be here. It does say there's still 9 watching. For anyone who hasn't really commented, if you're still here, thank you for being here. And I just want to say thank you. So I think we're going to go ahead and end the stream here. Anything else you want to add before we go off offline?
No.
Art that heals Stephanie, sorry.
Sorry?
Art that heals Stephanie is still here too. She said best wishes to you too.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's we'll probably definitely have discussions in the future as everything kind of progresses for both of us.
Absolutely, definitely keep up on how we were both progressing for sure.
But yeah, I'm good. I feel a lot better than I did
before.
When I first started, I was a little nervous, but hey.
Yeah, when I brought up the idea, I knew there might be a chance it might be something different for you just because you haven't done it before. But you've done extremely well, so thank you for that. Thanks for being open to the questions that we were talking about. And yeah, thank you for your friendship. Thanks for helping me get through some of my struggles. And it's not all about me helping you. I know you've actually helped me in a lot of ways, so don't think that that's not reciprocated. You've definitely been there when I've been going through a lot with my son and other things going on with this disease. So thank you very much for all that you've done for me even. So
no problem at all.
Well, thank you very much, guys. We're going to go ahead and end the live stream there. So thank you for tuning into my interview with Shawn and talking about the struggles and everything we face with ankylosing spondylitis. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and you can check out all the links down below. Check out our Patreons, the links like Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, my PayPal. You guys can add me to Hangouts, whatever you feel free to do it. It's all down below. So thank you guys for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you on the next live stream or video. So click that bell to be notified, and I will see you guys next time. So from Shawn and I, thank you guys for joining, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.